What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Jimmy Chance Show. I'm Rob Cochran alongside Connor Fitzharris, Jack Miller, Marcus Miller, and Jacob Helene. We're back for a preview of the two college football playoff semifinals between Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson and Ohio State. And we might talk a few other things in between. So we'll get started right away. First off, how was everybody's Christmas? Did everybody have a good Christmas? Yeah.
Sure,
Everybody?
pretty good. Yeah, it was just different, not seeing a whole lot of family, just one set of grandparents and just, just my immediate family. But yeah, pretty good overall.
Everybody get what they wanted?
Yeah, it was solid.
We'll see what I want on Friday night. That was my big Christmas.
I got some here. I'll grab it off
Why
my
are you
wall.
doing this to yourself, man?
I'll grab it off my wall real quick.
False hope.
I got this Notre Dame hat.
See it.
There we go. If it can show.
What is going on here?
I can kind of see it.
Here, I can take off my background real quick.
I can see it, yeah.
But it's like this, my grandparents got it for me. It's, here we go. Here we are.
Hey,
Notre Dame hat I'll be wearing on Friday. So, yeah.
Sweet, man.
So we'll dive right into Friday night, the 4 p.m. game between Alabama and Notre Dame. Spread is 20. There's a lot to dive in here with some matchups and some, Heisman implications and stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with our Notre Dame expert here in Connor Fitzharris. Connor, do you just kind of want to give us the rundown?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a tough matchup for Notre Dame. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's going to be difficult for, both the offense and defense side of the ball to really control the game. I think that's one thing Notre Dame has been good at all year is controlling the football, minus the Clemson game. We saw them do it against Clemson the first game on November 7th, saw them doing it against North Carolina. I think that's going to be Notre Dame's main goal is just to try to keep the Alabama offense off the field. Because, the Notre Dame defense, good luck. Do whatever you have to do to stop Bama. Likely going to be Clark Lea's last game as a Notre Dame defensive coordinator. And I've just been listening to some podcasts, and I agree with everybody. Like, just if I'm Clark Lee, I'm throwing everything at the wall. Like, I'm throwing everything Bama, has and hasn't seen. Like, throw absolutely everything you can to try to confuse Mac Jones and those receivers. Like, play any type of zone you want. Play man coverage. Play three-man cloud. Play everything you can to try to confuse Mac Jones and that offense. Because, we touched on it a couple weeks ago. This offense that Bama has right now is better than 2012, which is scary. They have Jones, Devontae Smith. I don't think Jalen Waddle is going to play. I have been looking for an Alabama depth chart about every hour, and I have not seen one pop up on Twitter. But I do not think he's going to play. But still, they have guys like John Mechie, who is hardly ever mentioned. He's one of the better receivers in the league, I think, or in college football. So, if I'm Clark Lee and that defensive staff, listen, they're probably going to give up 30 plus. I think that's pretty much a given. But just throw everything you can at the wall. And for the Notre Dame offense, Alabama's weaknesses are their safeties and their defensive line. Their linebackers pretty good with Dylan Moses. They've got one of the best cornerbacks in college football with Patrick Surtain. So I think Notre Dame is going to be able to run the football, something they were not able to do against Clemson. And if Notre Dame cannot run the football against Bama, they will not win. But I think, Notre Dame's offensive line, Liam Eichenberg is at full health, it sounds like. There's still questions about the center, whether Josh Legg or Zeke Carroll, the freshman, is going to start. So the center is obviously a cause for concern. But if Notre Dame can run the football with Kyron Williams, and let's give Chris Tyree some playing time, Tyrese and Brian Kelly, let's see if that works out. I think if Notre Dame runs the football, they will be successful on offense. Now, we talked about this in our last kind of podcast YouTube channel. If Notre Dame does not use their explosive receivers, they're also screwed. Javon McKinney is a great receiver. Ben Skoranek is great. Michael Mayer obviously speaks for himself. If Lawrence Keys, or Braden Lindsey does not get in the game, or freshman Jordan Johnson, what are we doing? And if I'm Tommy Rees, that Clemson game was so conservative, man. First and second down. It was almost like they're trying to play not to be embarrassed. against Clemson, which completely backfired. And if I'm Reese, same thing with Clark Lee. I'm throwing every trick play we have in the book, throw it deep to McKinley, every other play. I don't care. Like, do whatever you have to do to get the job done for Notre Dame. It's going to be a tall task, but if Notre Dame gets a few breaks here and there, if they can stay in the game in the first half, I think it's going to be closer to 20.5. I think, if Notre Dame can actually try to win the game, if they can pull everything they have and just do crazy stuff and try to win the game, great. If it backfires, I don't care. If Notre Dame loses by 35, trying everything, okay, cool. But if we're Notre Dame fan and sit here and let Tommy Rees and Brian Kelly run the ball on first and second down every time, I'm going to lose it. Just because that's what they did against Clemson. It just was awful. So mix it up on both offense and defense, and maybe we have a shot. So I guess that's just my takeaway. Notre Dame needs to control the line of scrimmage on offense especially, and somehow stop, Devontae Smith and Mac Jones. So.
Yeah, Fitz, while I wish I could share the same enthusiasm or optimism about this game, I just don't think I can, because I don't think that when it comes down to me, or what it comes down to for me is matchups, is one-on-one, crying belly in the chat. What it comes down to me for is just matchups. One-on-one. Is Mac Jones going to be able to put a ball into Devontae Smith's shoulder, cradle, against our cornerbacks? Probably. Is one of our corners going to get cooked? Yeah, they are. And I think that that's just on the defensive side. And then you look on the offensive side, like, are our receivers and our tight ends quick enough to outrun, the linebackers or the corners that Alabama has? Probably not.
Well,
so
it just depends on who Brian Kelly and Reese decides to put out there.
Yeah.
If they're putting out Chris Tyree and Lawrence Keys, sweet.
With the personnel that they've been running, like, it's not a fast offense. Like, it's not fast paced.
No, right.
It's not a quick offense. It's more of a semi, once it gets going, it's kind of hard to stop, but if you can't get it going, then it's just slow the whole game. And I feel like in a game like this, you have to get it going quick.
I knew our corners were going to be a liability when in that November 7th game against Clemson, when Cornell Powell was running seam routes against, Nick McLeod, our best corner. I was like, okay, well, great. That's going to suck in a couple of weeks. And I'm praying Waddle doesn't play, because if Waddle plays, that's just an outrage. That's just going to be awful. But here's my thing. This Notre Dame secondary, like, Nick McLeod is going to be on Devontae Smith. We need to have Kyle Hamilton over him. Sean Crawford isn't going to cut it. He's not. Mm-hmm. And he proved that against the Clemson game, getting just outran by Amari Rodgers 10 yards down the field. So wherever Devontae Smith is, you got to put Kyle Hamilton, the safety, over the top of him. And hopefully Nick McLeod can at least stay with him, and Hamilton as a last resort, who's one of the better safeties in college football. But then you have the issue with, John Mechie is a great receiver. I think he's very underrated. He is a stud. So then that leaves God knows who on the other side with Mechie. Sean Crawford over the top. Great. They've switched around cornerback so many times on that second corner to the field. I don't know who Kelly's going to put out there. He might play Sean Crawford at corner, because that's what he used to play. So I don't know. That other side concerns me actually more than Devontae Smith, because, listen, Devontae Smith, no matter who Notre Dame puts out there, 8 catches, 140 yards, a touchdown, book it. Like, that's just – and it might be more than that. It's not going to be less than that. That's just what it's going to be, and that's got to be a reality for Notre Dame fans. 8 catches, 150, and a touchdown or 2. Okay. But how is, Najee Harris going to do? How is Notre Dame's front seven going to do? Didn't slow down ETN or Trevor Lawrence, for that matter, in the ACC title game. And if Mechie goes off, then there's a bigger issue there. Only reason, Notre Dame's defense gives me a little bit of hope is that Mac Jones does not run. Mac Jones is not a runner.
No, he's a pocket guy.
And that's where Notre Dame has struggled. I don't know what the defensive staff was thinking, that Trevor Lawrence couldn't run. Did they not watch the Clemson-Ohio State game last year? Lawrence ran all over Ohio State. I just didn't understand that. I didn't understand how we had the spy on Lawrence. because, I mean, Lawrence ran for almost over 100 yards against Notre Dame, a couple big runs that crushed Notre Dame. But, yeah, I think, Devontae Smith's going to get his. If we can slow down Najee Harris, maybe under $150, like, I'll take it. And if we can contain Mechie, like, fine. Pressure on Mac Jones is going to be huge. Didn't see that against Trevor Lawrence and Clemson in the second game. So, yeah, I mean, if the offensive line holds up for Notre Dame too, I think they're going to be in the game.
You three have any comment on this matchup between Alabama, Notre Dame?
I will say so. Stat in college football that I like is EPA, which is estimated points added, like per play. So it's like an efficiency stat, like how good of an average play, how many points is it adding for you or subtracting for you. And Alabama's rush defense is I believe 44th in EPA, which isn't great. So I think Fitz has a point that Notre Dame could be able to kind of control the game in the first half a little bit. Not control the game, but I guess shorten it a little bit. Because I think the key for Notre Dame obviously is just getting it down to as few possessions as you possibly can, because that's the only way you're going to even keep it close. So theoretically, they could have some success running the ball because Clemson is third in that stat. So Clemson's a very good has a very good run defense. So that might explain some of the reasons why Notre Dame struggled with them running the ball on a couple weeks ago. So I think Notre Dame has a chance there to kind of exploit that. But Alabama's offense is like number one in both rushing and passing EPA. So you gotta try to attack that rush defense, I think, if Alabama's, and you gotta try to just cut the possessions down at least like 3 or 4 before you even think about winning this game if you're Notre Dame.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'll echo what you said, Marcus, about how Notre Dame, like to have any chance, I feel like they just have to control the ball. And I mean, that's one, you can't have turnovers. And two, I do think that they can run the ball and will be able to run the ball against Alabama's defense. And if they're able to do that, then they're one, controlling the clock. And then two, that opens more things up for Book with play action and just getting him on the move and quick, easy passes. And then the other thing is on defense, I feel like you kind of have to pick your poison in some way. Like you either have to try to limit Mac Jones in the passing game or try to limit Najee Harris. And I feel like if you're Notre Dame, I would just load up the box and stop the run, because I feel like that's as good as Mac Jones has been and their receivers. Like this is Mac Jones. This is his first year starting, and he hasn't really played in that big game yet. And I mean, he's been great all year, but who knows what he's going to be like in this playoff game. And I feel like if Notre Dame is somewhat able to stop Najee Harris, who's just been unreal this year. I mean, he has like 25 rushing touchdowns. Then at least you're putting more pressure on Mac Jones. And if they can, kind of what Connor said, just get weird and have guys blitzing from the corners and playing weird zones, and at least give Mac Jones different looks and make him move around, because like you guys said, he's pretty much just a pocket passer, and I don't feel like he'll be too comfortable if he's hurried and having to force around in the pocket. So if they're just able to do that, I think they could make it closer than most people predict, but I still don't see them having a chance to win. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think the first 3, 4, or 5 possessions of the game probably are crucial. I think, yeah, I mean, like you guys have been saying, I think Notre Dame has to run the ball effectively to have a chance at winning, and they need to control the clock and control possession. I think they need to score a touchdown on one of the first 2 drives. They can't settle for field goals like they did at the beginning of the Clemson game. So they have to punch it in for a touchdown on one of the first 2 drives. Because honestly, I think as soon as Alabama goes up 2 touchdowns, I think the game's over. I just think with how explosive Alabama is on offense, if they get clicking enough to go up 14 points, that combined with Notre Dame's lack of explosion. I think as soon as the game is 2 touchdowns for Alabama, I think the game's over. So the first couple possessions are super important. And I think that Notre Dame has to score, and they have to come up with some kind of stop early on if
Yeah,
they
I'm gonna agree with you,
want
Jack.
to get into the game.
I think you know what. Not only score, but score touchdowns. I mean, we learned that against Clemson. I mean, shoot, you get down the red zone, and we're kicking field goals. We made a 51-yarder and missed a 24-yarder. Like, that's not going to beat Clemson. That's not going to beat Ohio State. And let alone that's not going to beat Alabama. When we get in the red zone, I don't care if it's 4th and 15, go for it. Like, they have nothing. Okay, unless it's a close game.
I don't know about 4th and 15.
Listen, though, I mean, you're not going to beat Bama kicking field goals.
No.
Yeah, 4th and
I
5,
agree.
4th
I think
and
if
6,
you're on their
4th and
side of
7
the
from the
field,
15,
it's like
you got to go for it.
If you're on their side of the field and it's like anything less than like a 4th and 7, you got to go for it. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's what a Notre Dame podcaster said too. Like, if we're on the right side of the 50, do it. Like, I don't care if we lose by like 80. I mean, as long as you're trying to win the game and we're not punting on 4th and 5 from the 46, like, I don't care what the score is. Like, as long as we're trying to win the game. And, we talked about it last time, so I won't get too much into it. That Clemson game, so many missed opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Dorr stinks. But you got to put the ball in the end zone. I mean, you just have to. I mean, you can't. It's going to be touchdown for touchdown probably against Alabama. And if you're kicking field goals, Nick Saban is just laughing and Sarkisian just laughing. Okay, we'll throw a bomb to Devontae Smith. Done.
Mm-hmm.
And it just. I don't know what else to say. It's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I agree with you, Jack, too. The first possessions are going to be very telling. I think Notre Dame is going to be pretty fired up. I don't think Bama has to be that fired up to win the game. I think they're going to just come in business as usual. I think Brian Kelly has learned his lesson from 2012. Listen, there is a clear talent mismatch here, clear across the board. Every single position almost there's a talent discrepancy. Offensive line, Bama has the advantage. I know Notre Dame, is a favorite to win the offensive line award. I don't care. I think Bama's got a better offensive line. You can make a case for the front seven. Notre Dame might be better, but I mean, I still think they have better athletes on the other side of the ball. Owusi Cormore is a great linebacker, but I think Dylan Moses might be a little bit better just because of his athleticism. I know he hasn't had the best year, but there is a huge talent discrepancy. I think Brian Kelly now realizes that. And he should have realized it from the Clemson game too, if he hasn't already from last week. Throw everything at the wall, anything you possibly can to try to get Mac Jones confused, to try to confuse the Bama defense. Just do anything you possibly can to try and win the football game. I hope that's their mindset going in. I hope it's not the Clemson mindset Reese and Clark Lee has. And I think another concern for me is just the Clark Lee aspect going to Vanderbilt. Just kind of upset he announced this before the playoff and before the ACC title game. Like, I'm sure you could have told Vandy, like, listen, I'm going to take the job, but let me get through the playoff first. The players, Kyle Hamilton said it's got no impact. I don't know. It's hard to believe Lee hasn't checked out by now, but I hope not. I mean, it kind of looked like he checked out against Clemson, but I don't know. That's just another burden that Brian Kelly has to overcome. So.
Jack, I'll go one further than they just need to score. I think they need to have like a big run play in the first two possessions, like a huge, like 50 or 60-yard explosive run. Because, like, to me, that Kyron Williams run against Clemson opened up so much of their offense the rest of the game. And I feel like you're just not – scoring is going to help, but if you're scoring with, like, just a long, sustained drive, I'm not sure if that's really going to, like, do anything for you throughout the game. But if you, like, break off a 50-yard run early, then that kind of gets in Alabama's head a little bit. They're going to adjust a little bit. So for me, I feel like if they want any chance, they have to have a huge running play in the first couple drives of this game.
Either that or just like 5 or 6 runs of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards.
That too. Yeah.
I'll add one more thing kind of on the flip side of Notre Dame needing to score touchdowns. I mean, I have no idea how their defense fares in the red zone, Notre Dame's, but if they're like Alabama's going to move the ball, they're going to get probably, I mean, they average almost 600 yards a game, but if they're somehow able to limit their touchdowns in the red zone. That's another key for them, just kicking field goals. We all know about Alabama's history with kickers. If they're able to force some field goals, they're at least one not scoring touchdowns. And who knows with Alabama kickers. But yeah, I don't know how Notre Dame has fared in the red zone defensively. And we know Alabama scores touchdowns, not field goals. But if they're able to turn like 3 or 4 of those touchdowns into a couple of field goals, then they'll maybe keep it closer.
Yeah, so we'll move on to Clemson, Ohio State. I know a lot of the experts are anticipating this to be sort of a closer game than Alabama and Notre Dame. I'm kind of going to go against the experts here, and I think this is going to be a blowout. I don't think Ohio State's going to keep this close. I think all year Ohio State has been kind of overrated. And I know I'm kind of going against the grain and saying that, especially with like the national media and the committee. But I just feel like they're a little bit overrated. And the two good teams that they've played, they have not played a very good game. They've played a good half or a good quarter, but they haven't played a really solid 60 minutes. So I think Clemson is going to take advantage of the matchups that they have on both sides of the ball. And I think this is going to be like a 40 to, let me see, I say like 35 to 17 game or something like that. I think somewhere in that ballpark. But I don't see Ohio State putting up a lot of points on Clemson's defense.
Yeah, I'm just, Ohio State only playing 5 games is interesting to me. Haven't played anybody near the talent level of Clemson, obviously. Clemson playing Notre Dame twice. I think that helps them out a little bit. Maybe even though Notre Dame might not be the Ohio State's level, I think, that helps Clemson out a ton because they play, a good team in Notre Dame. Ohio State has played a good team in IU, maybe, not as good talent-wise as Notre Dame. Northwestern, one of the better defensive teams in the whole entire country, but Northwestern's offense stinks. So I don't think Ohio State's defense was really tested in the Big Ten title game. The only time, Ohio State was on the ropes, was in the second half of that IU game when, IU was throwing at will and receivers were just wide open at some points. So I think Amari Rodgers and Cornell Powell are going to have a good game. It's hard to get a gauge on where Ohio State's rushing defense is. Marcus, I don't know how well Stevie Scott did against Ohio State.
He didn't do
IU's
anything.
offensive line sucks. We weren't
Doesn't
running
Indiana hardly
this year.
runs the ball?
Yeah, right, Jacob. IU hardly runs the ball at all either. I guess with Penix back there. Northwestern, they did an okay job running the ball, but I mean, we don't really know where Ohio State's run defense is at. I think there's a chance ETN could go for 200 plus against Ohio State defense, or I think there's a good chance Ohio State does a good job, shutting him down. But they have not faced an elite back this year like ETN. They faced him, last year obviously, and ETN played well, but Lawrence ran the ball better than ETN last year. So I think the defense is going to be interesting to figure out for Ohio State. Their secondary, we know, is susceptible to big plays. Their rush defense is question marks too. And again, we have Justin Fields with question marks too. He has not looked great against Northwestern, not looked great against IU in the second half. So I've got questions for Ohio State. I don't really have many questions for Clemson, seeing their performance last week. Granted, Notre Dame, played awful. But I think, we saw what this fully healthy defense can do for Clemson. And it is scary. But we should mention Nolan Turner's out for the game. He is their star safety, the best safety Clemson has. He had that targeting call against Notre Dame the last 4 minutes of the game. Don't really know why he was in the game, but Venables, lost the big one in Nolan Turner. So Ohio State might try to attack that side of the field. So
is that for a half or for the whole game?
No, he's out the game. That was in the fourth quarter. Oh wait,
I think it's just a half. Yeah,
right. It is the half. Sorry, my apologies. So I mean, missing him for a half still going to be big. I think Justin Fields tried to throw the ball in his direction to Garrett Wilson, but yeah, I don't really have a score prediction because I can see this going both ways, but I would more lean towards Clemson winning. I think probably, 31-20. I think it's going to be decently close, but it could be a blowout. So 31-20. I like Clemson.
I think Ohio State's. I think they're gonna win this game. I don't feel great about that prediction. But Obviously, Fields has not looked great against Northwestern and IU, and I get that. Northwestern and IU are also the number 1 and number 3 pass defenses per EPA in the nation. Clemson is 10th, so still very good, but according to the stats, not quite on those teams' caliber. I think the whole like Dabo stuff, I think, is only going to help Ohio State if we're being honest. I think Clemson will be ready for this game, but like I don't know. I think a lot of people are just kind of like shooing Clemson into the national championship game with Alabama, um, and like I don't know. I don't think Clemson's quite on that level with Alabama. I think they still have some flaws. I don't know. Their offense is very good, but I don't know like how much I trust their receivers to just absolutely torch Ohio State all game. So for me, I feel like this game. I don't know. I just kind of feel like Ohio State's going to have their best game of the season, and I feel like Fields is going to fix a lot of what he's done wrong. And I could just totally see them winning this game. I think it'll be close, but um, I'm kind of expecting something similar to last year's Ohio State Clemson game, to be honest.
I think for me, I'm kind of leaning what Rob said. I think Clemson's going to win pretty big. I feel like we don't know much about Ohio State. I know they're 6-0, but they've played about half as many games as Clemson has, and I probably would have thought it would be closer, except watching their game against Northwestern, Justin Fields looked really bad. And I know that's against Northwestern. He has one of the better defenses in the country, but so does Clemson. And I feel like Clemson always has a good run defense, and that's what Ohio State has based their offense on this year. They're averaging almost 300 rushing yards a game. And I feel like if Clemson's able to somewhat stop the run and force Fields to make big plays, he hasn't looked that comfortable most of this year, and he's been pretty inaccurate. And I feel like that will just make it tougher for Ohio State to score. And also, kind of what Connor said, like they've given up a ton of big plays in the secondary, and just Clemson. I mean, they had big plays against Notre Dame, and I feel like Trevor Lawrence is just going to find their holes in the defense and just get some big plays. So, I mean, we'll see. We really don't know much about Ohio State, but I feel like Clemson's more the for sure thing. And yeah, I think I'm expecting Clemson to win pretty big.
I think I've got Clemson probably anywhere from like 7 to 17 points. So like not a blowout, but also fairly comfortable. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was closer than that. I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State came out and won. I think I would be surprised if Ohio State came out and won by a lot. I think, yeah, I mean, I think Clemson's offense is just solid. They've got the best player in college football. They've got one of the better running backs in college football. And on the defensive side for Ohio State, they're just really meh. They've given up a ton of big plays, a ton of yards, a ton of points. So they've been exploited. And then on the flip side, Ohio State's run the ball for like 225, 250 a game or something. So that's been a huge part of their offense. And like Fitz was saying earlier, Clemson's run defense is pretty solid. So I think the run game is in favor of Clemson probably. Granted, Ohio State did run for like 350 yards against Northwestern, but I can't see that possibly happening again. And then I think Justin Fields will probably play his best game of the year, or at least close to it. I don't think he'll come out with the same showing as against Northwestern, especially, and probably better than against IU too. Just because it's a huge game, and I think he's a competitor enough to put forth a good performance and not kind of, I don't know, lay an egg like he's done. So I think it'll be a relatively good game, but I think that it'll be fairly comfortable for Clemson.
I'm watching this. Are you guys watching this Miami-Oklahoma State game?
I'm not.
Saw Miami came back.
Yeah, Miami's within 5 with 10 minutes left, but Oklahoma State's driving.
They just scored.
The Cheez-It Bowl.
Did you see all the
Yeah.
Cheez-Its in the stands?
Yeah.
It's awesome. The cardboard cutouts.
Where is
Greatest
the
bowl
Cheez-It
game of
Bowl
the
at?
year.
I don't know.
I thought it was in Florida somewhere, but I could be wrong.
It's either Orlando or Tampa. That's like where all the bowls are, I feel like.
Cheez-It Bowl, let's see.
I think it's in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
They're playing indoor in the Coliseum.
Oh,
It's in Orlando.
How do they do that many bowl games like in one Orlando stadium? I don't get that.
I mean, they're just so used to holding like events and stuff. Like they can just shuffle those bowl games in and out.
I'm pretty
I mean,
sure that
those are the
stadium.
only football games happening in Orlando, though.
Yeah, like that stadium's only bowl games, right? It's got to be.
I mean, as far as
I
football,
think so. And they probably have concerts there too, I would think, in Orlando. But
I'm sure they have
has-
tons of stuff.
Yeah.
It has the
It's not a
Citrus
ton of
Bowl,
football.
the Cheez-It Bowl, the Cure Bowl, and the Camping World Kickoff.
Camping World Bowl, great bowl game. That's what Notre Dame was in last year.
Where's the Outback? Is that
beat the
Tampa?
brakes off of Iowa State.
Outback's in Tampa, yeah.
They beat the brakes off of Matt Campbell last year. It
Yeah.
was great.
Did the Citrus Bowl used to be the Capital One Bowl?
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed the Capital One Bowl, man. That was a
I
great.
forgot what happened to it
Why did they go away from that?
Thought it was the Capital One Orange Bowl.
because the Capital One
Yeah,
didn't want to
okay,
sponsor it
yeah.
anymore.
But it used to just be the Orange Bowl, right?
So here are the sponsors: Capital One, Buffalo Wild Wings for 3 years, Overton's for 1 year. I don't know what that is, and then
Oh,
since
yeah.
then it's
For
the
the
VRBO Citrus Bowl.
Mm.
There you go.
I missed the Birmingham Bowl.
Uh-huh. I was upset the Pinstripe Bowl got canceled. I was really looking forward to that one. I always do every year when they play in Yankee
Great
Stadium,
game.
but
I saw there was a bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Who wants to go to Mobile, Alabama and play a bowl game? I
don't
mean,
know.
like, what?
It's on the
Is
Gulf
that the
Coast. man.
Carmelia Bowl or whatever? On
Yeah, I
Christmas
think
Day?
so. Jack.
Yeah.
I think so. Gosh, rip to the players who have to go to.
Yeah,
Mobile.
on Christmas nonetheless.
yeah, the great thing about the Pinstripe Bowl is it's always like a 13-10 score, and it's won on like a last-second field goal or something, and it's just
No,
like
not-
absolute. It's like absolute chaos. It's just
Indiana
like every
Duke,
game,
man.
yeah.
Indiana Duke was like 50
Indiana
to
Duke.
60.
Notre
That's
Dame,
what
Rutgers.
And then when did Wisconsin win it? Because I know they won it 1 year.
The Indiana Duke Pinstripe Bowl is one of the best bowl games of the last decade.
No.
Oh, that would have been a gross game.
Yeah, Kentucky, right?
No, it was somebody else.
It was Iowa and who was Iowa supposed to play in the bowl game, guys? Jacob or Marcus? Do you know?
Missouri.
Missouri.
Missouri, that's what it
That's
was.
right. Yeah.
Gross.
And then TCU Arkansas got canceled. I was so mad.
IU and Iowa should organize a bowl game and play.
Well,
Yeah.
they should have
Looks
like teams that got canceled not because of their own COVID issues, like match up with each other.
Yeah, TCU and Arkansas. I'm so glad
Yeah.
that game got canceled. That was the worst bowl game.
No,
ever.
no, that was gonna be a great bowl game.
No, TCU and Arkansas. I threw up everywhere watching that game.
It was gonna be.
Those
It
are
was
the two
a
most-
great game.
Boring Power 5 teams ever.
I actually
TCU
introduced myself into
TCU
fire
was
fire.
gonna
interceptions.
steamroll Arkansas.
No,
that
I think
game was
Arkansas
like-
was going to win that game.
No, Arkansas was like 4.5-point underdogs, and I was like, that line should be at least 7.
Franks was going to throw 7 interceptions.
I was like,
en route to a victory.
Yes, Jack?
Are you watching the Pacers?
Yeah, I had it on my phone, but now I'm just following it.
Did you see the and one bucket that TJ made like a minute ago?
Yeah, I
He
just
threw up
threw
a
up
floater
something.
from like 18 feet and it went
Yeah,
in.
he-
and had an and
He just
one.
kind of throws the ball at the basket and it goes in.
And he just had another one. That's,
Hey,
that
where
has
is my
no
guy?
business going on.
Where's my guy Chris Wilkes at? Chris Wilkes was the best UCL player never to become anything.
Chris Wilkes, I don't believe he's in the league, Fitz.
Wait, what happened to that guy Shabazz Muhammad? That one guy who went to UCLA.
He was in the league for a few years, but I think he's probably over there.
Number
in
2
Europe somewhere.
pick.
Yeah, he was good. He was like really good.
He's all right.
He was overhyped and he wasn't even good in college and he still got drafted second.
What about that guy who had that really weird hair at Kentucky that like broke his leg and like got drafted 1 overall? Nerlens
Noel?
Noel.
He's still in the league as a backup.
Nerlens?
Nerlens Noel. Is he in the league?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a backup.
That dude was an idiot. That dude was awful. He sucked.
Yeah, I mean,
Where's Bonzi at these days?
Honestly, I think is on the G League for the Bucks. I think.
I'm so tired.
Dude, John Conchard's got a contract
Gosh,
with the
Yeah,
Grizzlies.
he actually plays.
Conchar just pisses me off because he should have taken that Purdue Fort Wayne team to the freaking Sweet 16 or something, man. Like, gosh, he was so good, but he was. I hate him now because he's an NBA star all of a sudden. Like, gosh.
Yeah, I'm watching this. Like, if you've watched this Miami Oklahoma State game, I don't know what it is with the Big 12, but like somebody very powerful loves the Big 12 because the refs are doing everything they can.
It's Kirk Herbstreit.
The refs have single-handedly kept like 11 points off of the board for Miami. They just overturned a 2-point conversion that should not have been overturned. And then they scored a touchdown earlier in the game and it got called back on a phantom holding call. And then 2 plays later, Derek King is like carted off the field in like an ambulance because some guy like chopped at his knees. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It's probably Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk Herbstreit's like Oklahoma this, Oklahoma that. Oh, would you look at the weird quarterback who looks like a zombie? What's his name?
Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler. Like, gosh, that guy's terrible.
Herbstreit's behind the curtain pulling the strings for the Big 12. I don't get like
Iowa
what everybody's
State, baby.
I don't get what
8-3
everybody's
Iowa
obsession with
State.
the Big 12 is.
I mean, I feel like
They're
the Big
mediocre.
12 is full of those like Texas teams plus Oklahoma, which is I feel like that's just like a huge like college football crazy. All the Texas teams plus Oklahoma, like I don't know.
Like
I
they're
feel like-
mediocre teams at best.
But like traditionally, like that was huge college football stuff. Huge college football teams, huge college football fan bases.
You know
So
what?
it's probably just like the remnants of that still.
What's funny is at 6-3, Texas is getting a ranked matchup against Colorado, and at 6-1, IU is playing like 4-6 Ole Miss. It's just like I don't get some of these.
Yeah, the reasoning it sucks, but the reasoning for that is because I think bowl tie-ins need to go. The reason is bowl tie-ins because there's like
Yeah.
4 SEC schools in the playoff and or New Year's Six, and then there's like Auburn in the Citrus Bowl, which would be the next team up,
Yeah.
and then Ole Miss. And like the SEC was kind of bad this year.
Like there was a large gap between the good and the other teams in the
Yeah.
SEC.
That's the thing. Well, like the thing I hate is everyone was calling the Big Ten horrible this year, and like first of all, you have no idea how good a conference is till bowl season when there's no non-conference, and second of all, like where's the same energy when like the SEC had like 6 1-win teams, like just like 7 horrible teams, like I don't know. I saw a tweet from David Pollock about that, and it made me so mad.
David Pollock said, "Homer."
Yeah. He was throwing Minnesota in there with the Big Ten teams that were not performing this year. I was like, what? Because they were good last year? Like, what are
Yeah,
you talking
Minnesota
about?
is not like a traditional power.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota Gophers is one of the traditional powerhouses of the Big Ten football
Like
arena.
the Big Ten still finished, even with the ridiculous CFP rankings, they still finished with like 4 teams inside the top 15 or 16. So like, what's the big deal with that? I don't know.
All right, so we got Miami driving down 11 with 6 minutes left. So they're not dead, but they're not really alive either. And now the refs are going to review a catch. Jeez, oh Pete.
It was
Man,
caught.
I don't know how many more feet you need down.
Wait, who is that one guy on the Suns that I like a lot? Who is that big tall guy that I like?
DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton. Yeah.
Yes. What a
How is
bust.
he doing? He just kind of popped in my head.
What a bust.
He's actually not bad.
He's pretty good.
Are the Suns a playoff team?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Actually,
probably get like the 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah,
Who's
baby.
Paul?
Screw being a Bucks fan. Go Suns.
I saw the ESPN power rankings that they put out a couple days ago, and it had the Clippers at 3 the day after they got literally their butts like beaten in and deformed by 51 points. They were still ranked like 3 in the power rankings.
Well, they didn't have Kawhi.
How, what?
Kawhi didn't play.
Yeah, he did.
He did in that game. I thought he like busted up his teeth.
And they lost by 51 points.
Oh, I didn't realize he
and
played.
it was
I
never
thought he was
close.
out.
It was like 62-18 at one point.
They were
The-
down
the-
50 at halftime.
The power rankings are always
Exactly
going to
50.
favor.
And they still had them 3. Like
They're always
you
going to
can beat a
favor
team in the
those
top
big market
15 if you
teams.
get beat by 50.
Huh.
It was kind of funny.
Well, I reckon I'm gonna go downstairs and watch the Pacers, fellas.
All right.
If there's anything else we're
Yeah, we can
discussing on the
wrap it
show.
up.
Yeah, we can wrap it up real quick. That was kind of like a impromptu discussion we all kind of got on camera. So you guys got any last words that you guys want to throw in before we wrap this up?
Dude.
IU will beat Ole Miss by 20 plus.
Absolutely.
Right now.
I'm all for
I don't
it.
like this Ole Miss slander.
No, Ole Miss is not good because
Dude,
Matt Corral,
is a good quarterback.
he's terrible. He cannot keep the ball in like his offensive possession.
There,
Like he literally
there
throws
might
the
be
ball to the other
100
team.
points scored in that game.
IU is gonna put
It's
Ole
some-
Miss into a freaking like just
Touchdown
chamber of
Miami,
pain.
baby. Let's
Ole
go.
Miss is a more radical version of IU in like 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
Use
more
back.
radical.
When's their
He's back.
game?
More explosive
Saturday.
offense and probably a worse defense.
All right, I'm gonna head out,
Yeah.
boys.
All right, see you
all I
guys.
have to say is go Irish. You know, let's get the job done. That's all I gotta say. Somehow, some way, by a miracle, let's beat Nick Saban's boys.
Don't get your hopes up,
If
Fitz.
Brian Kelly says like he always does, like we just gotta, play our football or whatever, or play how
Oh,
we
this is what we
normally
gotta
play.
do.
Well,
Then you can lose.
every single time you start with well. Well, I think we played good football, and it's like,
If we do us, then do
If
our.
we just play better.
go out and win.
If
No,
we
you're gonna
play
lose by 20
Notre
points.
Dame football, we will win this game.
that's what he says.
Yeah.
As long as we don't get out coach or out man, I think we'll be okay. Like, cool, thanks.
As long as we score more points than the other team, I think we'll be okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'll be watching those games all day. I think those are going to be 2 really good games. So we'll see you guys on the flip side. Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
See ya.
See ya.